hello, everyone. Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Johnny and Stacey Brown. I really
Hello.
appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk with you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
That's no problem. The reason I love talking with entrepreneurs like yourself, because you guys have taken control of your lives. And I think that that's a very important thing for our country. I think one of the issues that our country is running into is that I think people are feeling powerless because they're not taking the opportunity to in essence, follow their dreams and their passions in life. And I think as entrepreneurs like you guys who really show that not only that it's possible to do it, but what happens when you do it, and sort of, to me, the joy and happiness that comes from following your own dreams and aspirations. So I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity.
Thank you.
All right, so as we get started here, if you guys could tell me a little bit about yourselves.
Ladies first.
Well, of course, my name is Stacey Brown. I'm originally from Queens, New York, and have been in North Carolina now pretty much more than half my life. So it's been about 30 something years that I've been here in North Carolina. I was originally in the banking field.
Okay.
Anti-money laundering.
Oh.
So I was in that banking and compliance field. And, throughout the course of everything and, switching over to doing something a little bit different.
Right.
I currently take care of my mom, so that helped to transition from banking as well. And we have 3 beautiful children.
Awesome.
We have 5 lovely grandchildren, and they are like our little bundle of joy. So we have a nice, close-knit family.
Oh, awesome. And I know that from personal experience from my wife. So that's awesome.
Okay, well, as for me, I'm originally from Charleston, South Carolina, but I was raised in the Big Apple, in New York,
I could tell.
Yeah, New York. It was there that I met Stacey. She was stalking me. And
I know the feeling.
I finally yielded, like, no more. That's it. I give up. Yeah. But we've been married over 37 years now.
Wow. Praise the Lord on that.
Yes, we do ministry work together. Business-wise, I've started, my background is working in law firms as well as printing companies, Kinko's, working with high-tech printing equipment. Also, I am an artist by nature and a graphic designer by self-taught, I should say. And so after getting weary with the industry, unfortunately, I was laid off. And a lot of people didn't like that, that I was laid off. But one thing I said to myself, lay me off, but you cannot lay off my hope. And that's when that's when I wanted to reposition myself. Started a business, Brownstone Graphic Services. That was in 2009. And thank God today, and through the pandemic, we're standing. And also we launched in 2020, toward the summer of 2020, we launched a catering business. And that has been successful. Brownstone Concept and Designs, as well as J&S Kitchen, kind of work together. Okay. So what we're all about right now.
Awesome. Awesome. So how does your business actually represent you? For both of you, how do these 2 businesses actually represent who you are as individuals?
Well, we're both a people persons. We both love working. I mean, given the vocation that we're in, just with ministry and working with our clients, we are people oriented. So that kind of speaks to who we are. We love interacting with people, love to see the joy, in working with people and the joy that they get from experiencing our services. Right. I enjoy cooking. Always did. He said I was stalking him, but actually I kind of reeled them in with some barbecue ribs and
But they
Some collard greens and all that stuff.
and I was only 17 years old cooking like that.
oh wow.
We both were young.
Well, just a
Yeah.
little anecdote here. So my wife did the same thing to me. She fixed me biscuits one time. I mean, literally one time she fixed biscuits for me, and she caught me. She got me. So I understand the ribs.
Yeah.
The rest
That's
is history.
awesome. And the rest is history. But
Mhm.
awesome.
Yeah.
And with,
For myself, I've always had a passion for art and creating and printing
Mhm.
and all that stuff, and I just happened to fall in the right industry, you know, that was able to horn, you know, to process, you know, what I enjoy doing.
Mhm.
Um, you know, so and you know, as I said earlier, I'm originally from Charleston, South Carolina, and we've always had great cooks in the family. You know, my
Right.
grand Bunchy, you know, she would cook. You know, we'd go down with her from New York, and she would cook and make her homemade biscuits, and oh my gosh, shrimps and grits. You know, I don't know what that's serving the restaurants, but that's not Grandma Bunchy's shrimps and grits.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
I would agree.
Yeah. So together, me and Stacey, we decided that we can do something with it because people really enjoyed our food. You know, and it's so funny, and I'll say this briefly. In 2020, the summer of 2020, a good friend of ours passed away, and we wanted to be there for the family, the grandma and the mother. So what we did, the Lord laid it upon my heart to be a blessing to them, myself, my wife, and to cook for them every week. And we did that consecutively for about 3 months. No charge to them. We just was a blessing.
Right.
And when it's all said and done, the Lord really inspired us to start our business because people was like, man, you guys need to market this. Your food is really good.
Right.
And my wife makes a mean macaroni and cheese, and people are just addicted to it. And a lot of other things good to do, but they just love her mac and cheese.
Right.
And so, you know, with that said, we just knew the passion was in us and we needed to bring it to the forefront.
Right. And I think that's one of the things that gets lost with entrepreneurship is that it's bringing that passion that everyone else needs. And so I can speak for myself personally, your work in graphics, you know, that you printed up the signs, T-shirts, brochures for my campaign. And you did a great job. So
thank you.
Thumbs up there. But also your investing in yourself was a blessing to me. Is that I think that it's really when you are utilizing your gifts and talents, I think that's the key is that you're going to bless someone else. You talk about food. You know, food is a great blessing to people. It opens up doors. And you talk about shrimp and grits. I cannot make my mother-in-law's grits to this day. And I cannot make my mom's fried pork chops to this day. And I could kick myself because I didn't sit down with them to learn these techniques. But when you talk about mac and cheese, it just the warmness that creates. And
we got you.
Yep. Okay. Oh, there you go. And so, I'll be curious to hear your thoughts on one of the issues that I see with young people today is that when I graduated from high school, it was basically 3 options. It was military, factories, or college. And I decided I wanted to go to college. I wanted to go to the military first because I wasn't ready for college. And so I ended up going to college. But today, young people are really struggling. And one of the things that I was told is that they can't really find jobs. And I think it's more they can't find jobs that they like. And so I'm curious what your thoughts are on, you know, to me, it almost feels like we have so much freedom today that freedom is sort of hindering us, putting a hindrance in front of us. So I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that.
Well, I think what you just said resonated with me, you know, about those options that, you know, you had as a youth, you know, what you were going to do with your life. I think today there's a lot of options that's available, but young people just need direction. They need the voice of the ancient men and women that will speak volume into their lives and kind of give them and they have to place value on what's out there already. You know, we're living in an era where kids don't want to work in fast food restaurants because it's beneath them. They want to start out making $50,000 a year.
Right.
And generally that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many options out there for young people. I mean, untraditionally, you know,
Right.
we see that there's a lot of influencers out there. That's a new technology based on the social media and the internet. And a lot of young people that have that's following in that particular lead or path, some of them seem to be very successful, you know, whether it's doing something on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, you know, and these companies will pay you. So there is, again, is such a variety of different things that you can do. But chiefly, I think you need to do something that you enjoy doing. And also understanding that Rome was not built in a day.
Exactly.
So we all have to patiently pursue what we enjoy doing and allow the time to cultivate that. And sometimes you have to do something that you don't want to do in order to get to where you want to go with your particular profession.
Right.
And that's what I wanted to kind of, you know, tag on to. It takes time. It takes time to develop. So, you know, we talk about the McDonald's job and the fast food industry jobs. It may not be where you want to be at the end, but those jobs, it helps to build skills,
right?
And that you know they're going to need, you know, going forward. How do you deal with people? How do you deal with a team?
Right.
You know, of showing up on time. You know, being courteous of the next person. You know, learning how to deal with people. These things, a lot are missing in today's society because a lot of them are behind the screen. You know, and they're not interacting, you know, with people face to face. So it does take time to build a career. You build a career. I remember when I first started, you know, to work, you know, we all was young, you know, got that, you know, that first job. Remember I was, you know, was in high school. I worked on Fifth Avenue and I worked in a music library. I worked in a music library, you know, with secretarial skills, you know, business, you know, but it taught me, you know, how to show up, you know, to be responsible. So those core things are needed. If you don't build that, you know, you can't expect to sit at the top and not have those core skills. But they do. They have to be patient, and everybody has something on the inside of them. Right. You know, everybody is not tagged to be, you know, an influencer on Instagram. There are some skills and talents that everyone have. I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna let you move on to the next question. Is that anytime your employer and an employer hires you, they hire you because they have faith that you can get the job done. Okay, and that you have something on the inside of you. So if they believe it, that you have something to help their business, then you have to, them as an individual, have to also believe that they have something that even can run their own business at some point. So it comes to believing in oneself. Right.
I think that is awesome what you both said. That was really, really awesome because I think you just hit the nail on the head on so many different areas. And I kind of start with, when you talked about like the older generation, that was one of the things, you know, with my parents being so much older. So a lot of their friends obviously were older, and I got to see their lives. So when I was growing up, you know, when I was 6, my parents were in their 50s. So for me, they had experienced so much of life. And when they talked to me, they always talked to me in terms of opportunity. And they could tell me how they built on this and on this and on this. And a lot of the older people I was around growing up, they kind of gave me that vision that, yes, if you work, every little thing that you do is something that's building you towards a better future. So I think that was spot on.
And can I add real quick? You know, and I think too, based on your social economic situation, it also challenges you to do better too. I mean, hearing your story, you know, you had the voice of your parents, older parents, infusing understanding and wisdom into you as a young child, which has caused you to excel in so many different ways. Unfortunately, for a lot of us, we don't have that, particularly African-American families. I mean, I'm from the projects, straight up. I'm from the projects. You know, I am from the ghetto, as they would say, but ghetto was not in me. I always sensed that there was something else in me.
Right.
And unfortunately, in those type communities, oftentimes there are not enough strong Black men and people that will help you to pull yourself up. So you have to gather what you can, you know, whatever little strength you have to gather that up. And also trusting in yourself and believing in God and people that will help to propel and push you to the next level. And always dreaming. And I'll say this and I'll let you move on. I'll never forget, I used to look out my window on the sixth story of my apartment building in the projects, and I would see this flashing light. And that flashing light made me want to move out of the neighborhood or to investigate, where's that light? But I had prohibits there. I couldn't drive. I didn't have anyone to take me, but I wanted to find out where that light was coming from. And eventually I began to drive. It was a bridge, you know, that flash light that I see at night. And so, like I said, we need to draw to the light, and hopefully that will bring us some inspiration to do things better with our lives.
That's awesome. It was funny because my dad used to always talk to me about his experience in the Air Force. And I was amazed because he was in the Air Force when it was segregated. Actually, he was in before it became its own separate branch. And so kind of reading up on segregation and, to me, the horrors of that world, and then to see how he just had so much enthusiasm about his experiences. And so they were mad when I told him I wanted to go in the Air Force, but it was funny because it was like, but you made it seem so great. And I had a great time there. But I think you're exactly right in terms of how, you know, that light, you know, sometimes it's just a spark in somebody's life. And I think, Ms. Brown, you hit the nail on the head too, when you talked about if somebody's going to hire you to do something, it's because they see that you have the ability to do it. And I think and I agree with you, so many young people, and I think that this is unfortunate across the board now, that so many young people don't really see that value that they bring to the table, because you're trying to fit a caricature and not thinking that what you are is good enough. God made you good enough. And so I think that, you know, again, from my own experiences, I think it's great what you're saying. And I'll just add this one last little plug here, well, last statement here, is that, you know, for me growing up, you know, I'm definitely not a pull yourself up by your bootstraps guy. I could always remember that I was adopted, and that who knows what my life could have been had that not happened. And so I could have been that statistic that people talk about. But I also realized in my family that there were quite a few of us that were, in a sense, stragglers to the family, where, you know, where relatives were coming from other parts of the country and family was taking care of them. So, you know, I think it's sort of like that, you know, always remembering in that essence where you came from, and also remembering that, yeah, sometimes people do need a hand, you know, you put your hand down to lift somebody up. So I think it's great.
Absolutely.
All right, that was great. And so that's going to be part of the sound blurb, by the way.
You know, and too, you know, my great grandfather was an entrepreneur in South Carolina. You know, it is said that he owned some ships or some boats, and he used to commute the southern white folks from one side of Hilton Head Island. I'm not sure exactly which of the islands there, that area, and he used to charge for that. You know, that was his. So I think part of that was in my DNA, because a lot of people in my family who have their own businesses, whether it's catering, grant writing, it's a lot of stuff. So, you know, and so hearing those stories of the legends, that was kind of inspired me as well.
Oh, yeah, awesome. All right, that was great, guys. So now, what are your future plans for your businesses?
Ooh.
Well, the sky is the limit.
Yeah, the sky's the limit. Wow. My future is to secure a future for my children and my children's children.
Yeah.
You know, we are, you know, climbing up the ladder.
She's climbing up the ladder.
You don't look like it, so I don't know what you're talking about. Go ahead.
I don't understand that language.
So in helping to lay a foundation, you know, and leaving a legacy, you know, so then that they can tap into. We want them to be, you know, free and their own boss as well. I mean, we have a daughter. She's excellent. She's a degreed a videographer, photographer, and things like that. Both of my sons know how to cook. Now, my daughter, she never liked being in the kitchen.
Right.
She used to be just like, tell me when the food is ready. That's it. But both of my sons, they have that knack, you know, for event planning and things in which they work with us in the business now. All of them work with us in the business, and then we are able to employ others as well as needed. And so my future is to build a business that they can carry on.
Okay, awesome.
Right, and in terms of the graphic design business, I mean, I have explored into so many different things, you know, other than just the graphic design. You know, I do book publishing now, and I do have a few, if I could just kind of show you.
Yes, sir.
My book that I published, and we
Okay.
do every aspect of the book from start to finish.
Okay.
And I, of course, publish for other people.
Okay.
So
these are some cool titles.
North Carolina. I'm actually out of New York City.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
again, it's just more than just graphics. You know, it's book publishing. You know, we do that, and we do it very well. And you know, we just want to just do what we need to do. As Stacey said, you know, we're building a legacy. We're legacy building.
Right.
Because right now, you know, we have that momentum, and we want to make the best of it. And you know, we know that it is legendary for most African Americans to struggle because we're lacking that wealth and that thrust from generations before us.
Right.
So we want to make a difference, as the scripture says, leave an inheritance to your children's children. You know, not just for us, but your children, your 3 generations need to be impacted by what you do.
And I will say that it's funny to hear you say that because, again, growing up, that was always, you know, what I heard. We wanted you to have a better life than what we had. We want you to be able to accomplish more, to live out your dreams in a way that we didn't. And I definitely raised my kids with that in mind, is to make sure that in terms of opportunities, that whatever you wanted to do, you would be free to do it and enjoy that. And I think, and kind of little side note here, it's always, you know, I always remember that, you know, I was born in '67. So right at the tail end of really, the way I look at it is I was one of the first of the generation of Blacks born free in America, where this is the end of segregation. This is, you know, getting ready to pass voting rights. So we really are the first generation that had the same opportunities as all Americans. And I think when we put it in that perspective, we've actually done a lot. Now, obviously, there's a lot to still do, but I think sometimes we don't give ourselves enough credit to think about. We came from, you know, the people that raised our generation were not free in this country, and they made a way, they made it work. And we're the beneficiaries of that. And that's what the legacy to me that we're trying to pass along. All right, so now here's a political question. So have at it. So do you believe that the government helps, hurts, or is indifferent to your business?
Well, she's kicking me. You go first. I think that, I think there's a lot of resources that they provide small businesses with. Of course, I've been in particular, the North Carolina, state of North Carolina, they have so many different tools that will help small businesses. From a governmental perspective, there's a lot of tools out there for small businesses too. We just have to be able to tap into it. I think they need to be a little more vocal about exposing those resources, because a lot of times those resources are hidden, they're veiled, and it's only for those who are non-African American. And I think if we know more about what's available, grants and different things that can help stimulate our businesses, I think most people would take advantage of it. You know, a lot of times when we start off, we're at the disadvantage, you know, but I just hope and pray that whatever's out there, that again, we'll be more exposed to it so that we can be able to be successful like any other businesses. I know there's a minority grant that's out there. Well, and a lot of times Black businesses, particularly African-American men, they're overlooked by because white women I think they, if I stand to be corrected, I think they're in that category too, minority, because they're women. And so, and I speak because myself in my company, we were trying to, when the DNC was here many years ago, we tried to tap into that. And there were so many, we've gone to the meetings. Matter of fact, I the one that came up with the name for the coalition of all these Black African Americans that joined together so that we can get a piece of the pie. We went to meetings faithfully once a week, thinking that we were going to get in, but
they locked us
out because had all of these vendors, you know, locked in.
Right.
And most of the vendors that was there was white vendors, and they were not the manufacturer. They were not the manufacturers. They were distributors.
Right.
And they're not going to do business with you because, again, they don't want anyone imposing on what they are. So those are some of the misfortunes. And you would think because they run from a governmental perspective, although I believe the DNC is a separate entity from the government, but still, so that has to change.
Okay. And I've heard that. So that's been a common complaint. Ms. Brown, you have anything you want to add to that?
I think he said.
Yeah, it was very thorough. So now, if I'm elected or when I'm elected, what would you like to see me do? As your representative, what is it that you would like to see me do?
Lord, you want to go first? She's kicking me again. I would love, as a local representative, I would love to see Charlotte and this area, Harrisburg, cleaned up.
Okay.
Because notice over the years, there's a lack in terms of, I think we've lost our sense of pride. When we first moved here many years ago, I mean, this was like the cleanest city on the map. And now you travel the interstate and the thoroughways, the highway, excuse me, and you see trash and you see litter everywhere, and no one is paying attention to that, and it's so alarming. So I would love to see that. There's so many things I can probably think about later.
I'll give you another chance later on. Excuse me. Yeah. Mrs. Brown, I'm gonna give you a chance. But Mrs. Brown, you got anything?
Well, my heartbeat is literacy with the young, with our children. Years ago, I had did I was embarking upon having a tutoring, a tutoring service, at the ministry. And when I did some research, I've noticed that in coming into the system, when tested, the young, they do it by race. It's clear, it's open. They do it by race. The children, the white, and the Hispanics and the Asians. And coming into the system, the Black children, they were pretty much, they were good. They was up top, and they was doing well. But then as they begin to go up in the grades, especially when you get around third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, start going down. With the literacy and the math, and so which produces a higher dropout rate. And it was funny, well, not funny, haha, funny, but it was enlightening to see that the Hispanics that don't speak the language, how it grows up, and our children, it was declining. And so and I know that takes a lot of different factors, but as far as the parent, in school and everything like that. But I would love to see that paid more attention to. I know back in the Bush era, they had the No Child Left Behind, type thing. But I think, if we are going to encourage entrepreneurship, we're going to encourage the proper jobs, more than just a minimum wage job, then we have to continue to address the education of our children.
And I just want to tap into what she said. because I think our children are lacking the necessary skills, for some of these places, these employers. But at any rate, I would also love to see more gun control because, as you know, when we first moved here many moons ago, the thing that stood out on the news was high school football.
Right.
And now, violence is just everywhere, and it's just crazy. It's escalating. And I think, in gun violence in particular, and I would love to see maybe more resources for young people, maybe trying to combat the drug situation, the sex trafficking in our community. We're like one of the high state, with sex trafficking, and things of that nature needs to change because a lot of us, that has been here for a minute, we came because we were kind of escaping a lot of the pollution that others were accustomed to. And so it's really sad to see a digression in your city, in the Charlotte region, and that is including that includes Cabarrus County, Rowan, and all these neighboring communities. So yeah, I'd love to see gun control, some kind of gun control law that passed.
And there are some resources that's already in our community, but need to be funded. Such as our local churches. That is a big part of the community. We serve the community. We just don't worship on a Sunday. But when the government centers are closed on holidays, when they're closed, on the weekend, the churches are open. Ones that on a Saturday, when when the children cannot make it to tutoring during the week because parents don't have transportation, parents work, you have the church, like we have teachers in our in our congregation, that given the proper resources to run a program, you can have these children come on a Saturday. There's so much. We know education is the bottom line, but there's so much that our churches offer, but then we lack the resources financially to be able to help the community even more. And we can't be overlooked because we deal with the community every Sunday.
And it becomes very personal too. We've helped slews of individuals, through our network of resources, a family in particular, before the pandemic, we were able to help provide housing for them and food and whatever they needed, and that was not through any government funding, that was through the church. And such as ours, is not unfamiliar, but it's just not ever told, because the government, there's no funding, there's no support. And I believe if government become a liaison for the church, it would just make our jobs a whole lot more easy. I need more than just a box of food to give them and say, go your way. Where's this food? Come on.
And that's why I really want to talk to you guys, have a part 2 to this about the role of the church, because I think that specifically, I think with a lot of the issues that we're having right now are, I would definitely say they're spiritual in nature. But I think more to the point, I think that there's certain things, government, from my perspective, government can provide the infrastructure, but it can't really provide the purpose. It's really difficult for government to tell you, well, this is what you should do or not do. That's really the role of church or our community organizations in general. But I think we are at a sort of an impasse, and we'll get into that in a part 2. But I think that that's part of where we're seeing this struggle, is that I think I agree with you. We need churches a lot more than how we're using our communities. And I also want to kind of go back a little bit when you talked about New York City. You talked about Charlotte and how, the trash. And so I'm definitely not a big Giuliani fan, but the one thing I remember is that I went up to New York, and probably the first time I went to New York was around '89, and it was scary. And then when I went again around, it was definitely scary, no doubt about it. What's that?
He was in the wrong neighborhood.
Well, it just felt like, like I said, didn't feel comfortable. But when I went back in around 2004, because we had a friend that lived in Jersey City, so we would
Right.
go stay with her and go into the city. And the thing that struck me was how clean New York was, because when we got there the first night, it was around 12 o'clock, and she was like, "Hey, let's go to Times Square." And I'm thinking, well, 15 years ago, I don't think
Mhm.
that we want to go to Times Square this late at night.
Right. Right.
But we went there, and I was just shocked at how clean the city was. And I
Right.
think that, some of the violence is, and I agree with you when you look at Charlotte, it is, being clean actually changes. I think it does help with the perception of your city and how you see yourself as part of that community, that it's a clean community. And I think psychologically, there's a benefit to that. So I definitely agree with you that that part needs to be cleaned up. I also
Right.
agree on the literacy side. So I'm very big on reading. So, and again, going back to my mom, she was, whatever the teacher told her, that was the law. That's what we were going to do. And had a teacher tell her that, well, instead of him sitting around doing nothing over the summer, go to the library getting books. So she got me a library card, made me read I would have stacks of books that I would read. And I really, to me, that was the most important thing that I wanted my kids to do, is to read, because reading
Right.
opens up your mind. Anything is possible if you believe in yourself. And so to me, that's what reading allows. So I without a doubt agree that I think literacy is such a key. I think hearing from people like you about how you walked out a dream, literacy helps the dreamer. And I think that's, so I agree with you wholeheartedly on the importance of literacy.
And let me
And
just add to that
mhm.
quickly. When I was a little kid, and of course you can probably remember when they had, we didn't have the internet, we had encyclopedias.
Oh yeah, yep,
And my mother would order the World Book encyclopedias,
yep,
and I would spend hours, countless nights into the encyclopedia, and it
same,
allowed me to dream and to visualize different parts of the United States
yes,
that I wanted to see and visit,
right,
to escape the ghetto and my hostile community.
mhm,
I wanted to travel the world.
right,
And that has become one of my reality
right,
because of reading and
yes.
studying these places before getting there.
Yeah, that's awesome. And yes, I remember those encyclopedias. I was so excited. And like you, I used to sit up, lay up, read them all the time.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I would read the stories on World War II. I was always fascinated by World War II. So I would just read that over and over in the encyclopedia. But yeah, so yeah, been there, done that. Great experience. Okay, well, I guess in closing, um, anything else? Is there anything else that you guys want to share?
I just want to say congratulations, and we hope and pray that, it will be a successful one. I think, you're a great man. I've been knowing you for a number of years, more so your wife, but just
Mhm.
the family. And I think you speak volume and you will represent very well. And
Thank
so
you.
definitely, you got my vote, and we'll definitely keep you covered in our prayers,
Thank
man.
Definitely really appreciate that. And the last thing here is, you want to share your contact information?
Yes, if anyone wants to contact us for catering or graphic design services, book publishing, they can reach us at 704-455-1146. Again, 704-455-1146. Or you can send me an email at Brownstone Graphic, no S in graphic, and I have to say that,
Mhm.
brownstonographic@yahoo.com. And again, for catering, you can contact, use that same number, and we'll
Okay,
definitely listen back with you. Yeah.
awesome. Well, guys, thank you so very, very much. This was so
You,
Thank
enlightening for me. So thank you. You guys take care and God bless.
anytime, sir.
Thank you.
Have a
Have a good
wonderful
night now.
evening.
You do the same now. Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.